think we're naturally, all of us become imposters until we find the who we are. And that's pretty much looking and working and coming to a kind of conclusion that we're all of this. We all are neurodivergent in some way. And some people, because we maybe not have homed in a little more, like more people that we say neurotypical divergent people, they would be more likely to have homed for that skill because that's part of where they did more and more and more of that, particularly if they're coping in society. I think for those that are not reflecting and a more difficult situation, which Mariella was saying, which was interesting, and I love that some are unable to reflect. Most women or people in stress or feeling anxious or in those places, they see the broken mirror because they're unable to see any other perspective. So we have to teach them or help them start to kind of heal that mirror in some way. Or find a new one.
Okay, we're all diving in. Gabrielle, please.
There is also a very important aspect we must take into consideration. Neurodivergent or neurotypical, we all grow up with social learning. So a lot what we identify with today is actually not from us. It is socially learned in a very, very young age and sort of taken on as our own. That means to say your upbringing, your social environment, your first most important person you relate to in your life from when you open your eyes into this world, all that. This has to be taken into consideration as well before you say I. So sometimes we act and behave out of something which is not us, but which we socially acquire.
Okay, I'm going to have to dive in there. I've been waiting to dive in for a while. I am so pleased we have a panel who are prepared to stick their oar in. So here's my observations and my challenges to you so far. Number one, I would suggest that we are all of a certain age, and that being of a certain age, it is easier to look back over our lives and see perspectives and therefore see where other people are struggling where we did. But we all know, I've never even had children, but we all know that as much as we want, we cannot teach people to stop hurting themselves or stop doing something until they want to learn it. And they only really want to learn it after they've been hurt, if you're lucky. So basically, all you're really talking about, Andrew, is communication etiquette.
Yeah.
We're not talking about the difference between Asperger's or not, or dyslexic or not. We're talking about this is how I am, this is how I work best. So it is, before you answer, I'm reading a book at the moment, I just finished it actually, called Winning. And it's having agency in your life, in your work. That's what seems to be key. Comments?
Communication is the thing, the biggest thing, the most important thing, because if you can't communicate effectively, you're scuppered. Doesn't matter whether you have a great idea or a great point. If you can't communicate that to others, you are not going to get anywhere further forward. I want to give you a very extreme example of something very quickly. 20 odd years ago, there was a serial killer in this country, and
keep it light, eh?
Keep it light, exactly. And one day, his son, because we're talking about Map of the World and learned behavior that was Gabrielle was talking about, his son was invited by one of his school friends to come and do some homework at his house. And he got there and he found something quite alien to him. He found a loving family where they talk to each other in a nice and supportive and emotionally acceptable way. They were friendly, they were nice, they were polite, they offered him food, he had a cup of tea, things like that. And this kid of this serial killer had never seen anything or experienced anything like this in his life. His life was being beaten, being abused, being battered, the whole thing. And he actually said something. I don't know whether he said something to that parent or he said something to his child. And that resulted in Fred West and his wife being convicted of murder, serial murder. Yeah, he buried kids under his patio. He had people stay. And it only came about because that poor child's version of normal, this learned behavior, exactly what Gabrielle was talking about, was of abuse, beatings, and he did not know what a loving, normal family relationship was, where people were nice and kind to each other.
So that